Here we go! Alright, let's take the Suzuki 185 out for its inaugural test ride, and I will give you guys my impressions as we go. First thing, let's see how easy this guy starts. She's completely cold. Not a bit of heat in her whatsoever. So let's just see. Decompression, choke on, how easy she starts. Oh, fired one pull, but she didn't stay running. Leave her choke on for a bit. So she fires one pull, but not as easy to stay running as old Zippy. Oh, decompression. Oh, there goes my back. Now she may be flooded. So she's going to take a little more coaxing than old Zippy. By the way, I think I have come up with a name for this old girl. As we let her warm up, if you remember in the last video where you saw me riding through the field up there, it was squeaking awful bad. So, I think from here on out, the Suzuki 185 is going to be called the Cricket. Because to me, that sounded just like a cricket. Now, one thing I have noticed, the shift pattern on this guy is opposite. Usually, most things, first gear and all the gears are up, and then to shift down, you push down. This is opposite. The shift up, you push down, and the shift down, you pull up. So it's a little bit backwards. But there's first gear. We'll run it for a little here with the choke on. Yeah, she definitely still needs the choke. Let's take her to the woods. Ooh, she's a little still cold-blooded. Run her with the choke on here a little bit. Got good power. I still got to remember that I don't really have good brakes. So it gets up and goes pretty good. It's geared low, it's small, lightweight, and again it's a 185. Okay, we don't need choke anymore. She's wanting to run away from me. So I'm not exactly sure what the horsepower rating for these were, because back when this was made in the 80s, you didn't worry about horsepower numbers like you do today. Oh boy, we got a stick. Wheelie over. Oh, not quite. Oh, not quite a wheelie. All right, we're gonna try this again. Try to redeem myself here. Okay, where's reverse? Up. We're gonna attempt to pop a wheelie over this bad boy. Ah, there we go. Beautiful. As I was saying, as you saw there, this thing is super easy to pop wheelies on. Of course, that brings me to the first big major downfall of this little guy. There is no rear suspension. So while that makes it really easy for doing wheelies, as you can see by my bouncing around here, if the GoPro doesn't filter it all out, this thing rides rough. No suspension in the rear besides your tire pressure, which I have 3.5 pounds in my tires right now. And front's probably got all of about 2.5 inches. So as far as suspension, yeah, it's not much. So while these have been acclaimed from what I could find on the internet, top speed of like 50-55, you gotta be pretty brave or be on pretty smooth terrain in order to go that fast in it. The front end of these things are narrow, so handling is nice and light. However, it's almost too light. You get severe understeer. I can crank these and you can see the delay. That's the way a lot of these old four-wheelers were. You really had to move your body around and shift your weight in order to handle. We get to the top of the field here. We're going to open her up, see what she's got. Top speed of like 50 miles an hour, but judging from that, it's gonna take you a while to get there. With this kind of four-wheeler, ooh, low ground clearance, really wasn't made for super high top speed runs. And as far as pulling hills, it's got power for days to come up these hills, even on bad tires. And again, I'm just putting, but comfort-wise, for a full-size adult to sit on, I am not uncomfortable. Seat position's not bad, and I could probably ride this for a good long bit if I can put up with the bouncing around. But like right now here in the open field, it's not too bad. It's not unbearable. I'm not actually bouncing around that awful much. And I say that as I sit some rough stuff and bounce around, but anyway, it's not too bad. Handlebars are in a nice actually position for an adult. So going by today's standard, this may seem more like a youth ATV. Back in the heyday, adults enjoyed this probably a lot more than youngsters did. This was probably a good farm buggy. You go play a little bit, get chores done. Oh, I didn't get my mud flaps on yet. We're gonna be flinging the mud. Curious to see how this does pulling the steep though. I think that's first gear. Let me confirm. Yeah, that's neutral. So we're in first. I'm kind of anxious to see if this thing's going to be tippy trying to pull hills. But I gotta say, she's not smoking a lick. Okay, first gear is going to be a little too low. Let's go second. Done. These foot pegs do make it a little tricky, kind of like zippy. You don't actually have full running boards like all these older buggies do. You've got pegs, so like when I'm standing up climbing hill, it's kind of hard to get, at least for me, a comfortable foot position. Let's go take an outer path around here. Here is the biggest plus I can say about the Suzuki 185, and not just it, but other four-wheelers like it, like Zippy. Whoops, wrong way. Reset and shifting. Again, no, it's not the fastest, it's not the most comfortable. But here's the thing. I paid 150 bucks for this guy. So between both 185s I bought, 300 bucks, was able to take the two and make into one good running one. I mean, this thing's running perfectly, sounds good and healthy. Again, not smoking a lick. And it's a good enough four-wheeler that I can come out here these backwoods trails, and it may be a little uncomfortable bouncing around, but hey, I'm having a good time. She gets the work done. You know, one thing I did do, guys, is check how much gas I had in this. I may be getting low. Whoa, good climb, good climb. Oh, she made it. So, I mean, that is a big draw to buggies like this. I think I am getting low on gas, so I better start heading back. But I mean, you can pick them up fairly cheap, even by today's standards. You can still pretty much find at least essential parts you may need on eBay, on Amazon. Yes, they're liable to be cheap knockoffs, but they're usually good enough to get you going anyway. And you can be out there enjoying a ride. So if you're a youngster looking to get into the sport, got a really tight budget, check out Facebook Marketplace for an old Suzuki 185, a Honda TRX 200 like Zippy. Very little time and effort, you can be out running. These things have reputations for being bulletproof, and you can be out there riding for very little money. Gotta remember, I don't have the best amount of brakes. Now, I know there's gonna be those of you out there that's gonna watch this video, and you may not comment it on my channel because I'm a smaller channel, but I know you commented on a bigger channel and say that is an absolute waste of money to buy a piece of garbage like this when you can put that money towards a newer, better machine. And yes, you could do that. I mean, I can't argue that issue. But you can't argue the fact either that in order to buy a newer, fancier machine, most likely you're gonna have to go into debt. And I'm not sure that's something with today's economy I would be comfortable going into huge debt for a toy, basically. Now if you're able to like pay it off in a year's time, then yeah, then fine. But I don't know, it's just the way, not to get political on the channel, the way this nation's being run into the ground, I would rather stay debt-free and get something like this, because you can have just as much fun on this as you can a big, fancy, expensive one. Might not ride as easy. Oh boy, as we hit, where did that come from? Here we go. Here we go. But I tell you what, I can laugh and grin just as much on this old Suzuki as I can on a new Sportsman 850 or what have you. hoping to get my Zippy versus the Cricket shootout done before the snow flies. But I'm not sure if that's gonna happen, because this is December 23rd with the holidays coming up. I'm probably not gonna have time to put it together and film it. And we're pressing our luck as far as not having a bunch of white stuff on the ground. But we'll see. That is coming though. If we don't have time this winter, it'll be coming spring. Zippy versus the Cricket shootout. And we'll put the Suzuki 185 up against the Honda TRX 200 XX. Very, very similar machines as far as size and power. So I think it'll be a very good shootout. Nice and smooth, it's not clunky. I'm quite impressed with the condition of this guy, especially after it's on fire. Check this out, guys. But there's our light switch. The light even works with low beam and high beam. Isn't that cool? Alright, so overall impressions again for 150 bucks. Consider it 300 for a running one, since we had to buy two of them at 150 bucks. It gets you out there on the trail and gets you going. To recap, yes, suspension sucks because it's solid. It's going to bounce you around. Yes, the handling is a little bit questionable because it's such a narrow front end and it has tremendous understeer, and you turn the wheel, and unless you're quick to shift your body weight around, it's going to understeer pretty bad. Power wise though, for its size, is pretty good. Seat's nice and comfortable. Sitting position is nice and comfortable. So again, I'm pretty impressed with the Suzuki 185. Again, here forever known as the Cricket. So I hope you guys are excited to see this guy be pit up against Zippy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, God bless and keep on riding.